Welcome back to our channel Best to Watch. Today we are here to talk about the top 10 HBO shows of all time. But before we get started, subscribe to our channel to never miss any updates. So without any further delay, let's get started quickly. 6 Feet Under. 6 Feet Under, a positive proof that HBO was doing very well on Prestige TV before Prestige TV, is an absolute gem of the drama series. The show debuted in 2001 and was held over 5 seasons, telling the story of a family running a funeral home in Los Angeles. As the title suggests, this is a show about death, and in fact, each episode begins with a depiction of the death of a person who came to the funeral home that week. Creator Alan Ball later created the soap vampire series, True Blood, but 6 Feet Under shows a softer, more mature side from the writer. The show also has one of the best series finales ever made, if not the best. And it's well worth the journey to get there. Veep. One of the best comedies of the 21st century, Veep is an absolute riot. Julia Louis-Dreyfus plays Selina Meyer, Vice President of the United States. Selina Meyer struggles to find something meaningful, primarily in ceremonial roles. But it soon became a reality that it began to satire, as her very active, which looks satirical and cheerful on the Veep, began to take place in actual US politics. The show does a swelling job of keeping the story fresh by switching Meyer roles over 7 seasons. Also, when Armando Lucci leaves the series and is replaced by Seinfeld's alum David Mandel, it will be one of the most seamless television showrunner transitions in history. Veep can be annoying and not suitable for those who are easily offended, but Louis-Dreyfus is doing all-timer work here. Barry. It's hard to explain exactly what Barry is, but it's just great storytelling. It's a kind of dark comedy, but it's also kind of a drama. The stakes feel real, and this show makes you cry, but it's also hilarious. Bill Hader co-produces, writes, directs, and stars a series like Barry, a hitman who is well-informed in the profession and determined to pursue an acting career. He begins taking acting classes with a charismatic teacher, played by Henry Winkler, but soon realizes that leaving the past is not as easy as it sounds. Everything about Barry is at the next level. Wire. David Simon's signature crime novels are arguably the best 5 seasons of television ever made. Wire addresses Baltimore's drug crime and corrupt agencies by investigating issues at all possible levels. Certain areas of focus change from season to season. Season 1 revolves around the slum row house block where most of Kingpin's Avon Barksdale operations take place. Season 2 will move to the dock. The dock is primarily a white working-class community also plagued by drugs and 2-bit scammers. We finally see the bureaucratic side as bold police captains are quietly trying to legalize neighborhood drug trafficking, a desperate attempt to reduce violent crime. You can also see how Baltimore crime flows into school when the former detective began working as a teacher. Not only is The Wire a gritty and fascinating story, but it's also packed with charismatic actors that turn every player in the game into a rich and compelling character. The clinically cold mastermind Stringer Bell, played by Idris Elba, the devilishly caring stick-up man Omer Little, played by Michael K. Williams, and the quiet and brilliant detective Lester Freeman, played by Clark Peters, are professional disasters. Watchmen. Damon Lindelof performed a thermodynamic miracle with Watchmen. It's bold to try out the groundbreaking comics by writer Alan Moore and artist Dave Gibbons, but in 30 years, will you create a sequel set that will radically change the side of the original work? But Watchmen only works. It works at several different levels. Guided by Regina King's powerful performance as a vigilant Sister Knight, the show unravels the mystery of a twisted puzzle box dressed in spandex while unraveling the superhuman and unfair race throughout American history. You can analyze the division. Jeremy Irons is trapped in a castle with an army of clones and shatters the landscape. Luz has a rogue lineman. There are many Watchmen, but wild rides are worth it at every stage. Look. A slice-of-life odyssey full of personality, credibility, soulful performance, and cinematography of the most handsome drama ever seen. The Look is a gem that's been overlooked on HBO's Crown. Jonathan Groff leads a warm and witty ensemble cast of gay men trying to get through in San Francisco. With just 2 seasons and a final film, the show always exits and feels like it's going to exist forever. This proves how easy, pure, simple yet complex the preview and aesthetics of the show are. On its original broadcast date, 2014 to 2016, it was often mistreated compared to flashy HBO programs such as Girls and Sex and the City. But if those shows were a slice-of-life relationship drama like A Flashy Fur Coat, Looking is less influential and See What We're Doing. Rather, it presents less similar Venice material. Indie otter Andrew High is an executive producer and oversees many of the episodes. His gorgeous handheld atmosphere intersects with the best TV color correction ever. When viewed, you get a fascinating and unique visual language. See looking for the absolute gem of quiet and beautiful LGBTQ+ storytelling. Flight of Conchord. New Zealand duos Jermaine Clement and Bret McKenzie brought a musical comedy to HBO in 2007 at Flight of the Conchords for a very enjoyable and successful crossover. McKenzie plays their fictional versions of Jermaine and Bret in a show that follows the pursuit of fame and wealth in the music world as a folk rock duo, Flight of the Conchords. Managed by a clumsy and adorable incompetent manager played by Riz Darby and captured by the only fan, played by Kristen Schaal, Jermaine and Bret navigate as if floating in New York City, trying to succeed in a successful music career. Flight of the Conchords is a delight for fans of deadpan comedy. The Clement and McKenzie chemistry fires on all cylinders as a throw-out one-liner or witty banner. In the mid-2000s HBO comedy, Clement and McKenzie sometimes perform songs like The Most Beautiful Girl in the Room. The Flight of the Conchord may have been short-lived, but the show continues to grow and remains a glorious piece of comedy. Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones is one of the only things that happens once in a lifetime, such as celebrating your 21st birthday, or hang gliding on an active volcano. Everyone in the world was hooked on this show, and the final season finally completed a spectacular story, ending many mysteries and loose ends a little. In many cases. Okay, it might just put some of them together, but at least it's over, right? That was something. Game of Thrones managed to grab us all in the throat and refused to let go for almost a decade. Analyzing all episodes, exchanging theories, and making predictions were done every time. The finale may have felt like a drunken giant tackling a citywide trash fire through a 400-story window, but Game of Thrones is the most epic fantasy ever told. It was one of the stories. The sense of community around the series is at the level of Harry Potter, Star Wars, and the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and cable TV shows are crazy high. Game of Thrones may have expelled Jon Snow to the North Pole and put the kingdom in the hands of the boring king Boringtard, but 44 million people like us have that shit all over the world. I saw it's unlikely that you'll immediately settle down on the full series of rewatches, but you'll likely ever see the Game of Thrones unfold with a staggering companion in the last 8 years will be even lower. Sopranos. David Chase lowered the gangster epic to a very personal level, turning criminals into suburban folk figures who wanted to see them navigate the barbecue as much as a mob hit. In control is James Gafaldi as Tony Soprano, one of the most powerful performances in any medium. Gandolfini can scare your junk by changing the strength of your nose breathing. So it's a miracle that you have to love Tony even if it gets messy each season. The mob boss of Gandolfi is painfully vulnerable, and his session with therapist Jennifer Melfi, played by Lorraine Bracco, is still noteworthy. Adding some of the sharpest sentences in history along with an instantly iconic supporting spinning cast, The Soprano remains the timeless backbone of HBO's original slate. Eastbound and Down. There was no redemption story like Kenny Powers, played by Danny McBride, in Eastbound and Down. Kenny, a former baseball star obsessed with the past and willing to deal with grandiose delusions, is on his way back to the infamous level he once enjoyed. A teacher pays bills until junior high school PE MLB knocks in, prevents you from achieving your goals. McBride's successful creative partnership begins with the Foot Fist Way, moves to Eastbound and Down, and is well documented until it culminates in the follow-up television show Vice Principals. Eastbound may be the best effort as McBride comfortably takes the center stage as a lovingly delusional Kenny, while Hill writes and oversees all the ridiculous, wild, and wonderful twists and turns. Eastbound's commitment to heighten the absurdity of this aforementioned quest, while grounding the series in the real world, makes it a bingeable watch. Katie Mixon is trying to get back from Kenny's high school lover as a work colleague. John Hawkes is Kenny's embarrassed but loving brother, and Steve Little is Kenny's devoted ally. As a pseudo-Hawksman, additional performance adds rich emotional depth to one pursuit of a second chance of fading star fame. Crash. If you're a stand-up comedy fan, The Crash is a must-see. Produced by Judd Apatow, the show is broadly based on the life and star creator Pete Holmes. Inspired by his divorce, Pete Holmes finally seriously attempted his career as a stand-up comedian. In each episode, you can see Pete crashing into another comedian's couch. This will open the series to a variety of guest performers from Jim Norton to Bill Barr and Sarah Silverman. And while the series was cut short after 3 seasons, it's a really entertaining and surprisingly emotional journey to see Pete's career finally get on track. That was all about it, and on that note, that's all for today's video. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, make sure you hit like and subscribe to our channel, Best to Watch. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section.